Hello, my name is Kate, and right now we are talking all about glass, gear, all the things that I use, that I love, things I do like, things I don't like. It's been an investment over the last few years, I'm not gonna lie, with some of the gear that I've already spoken about, the 85mm 1.2, the 50mm 1.2, it just ding, 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 ding. It just keeps growing and escalating, but as the gear excels, I've noticed such a huge difference and improvement in my photography. And while originally I obviously didn't have the money to invest and I used the gear that I had, and I made it work. It's a game changer. It truly is. So today I'm talking about my 28-70. This is on my R6. It was my total baby. It's a big investment. I was on the fence because I love shooting primes. I love the quality of it. I love the image that they create. And I'm fine with running around and moving to use my feet as that focal length. However, in a wedding situation, you can't always move as much as you want to. Like, you can't sit on a guest lap. You can't go and, like stand on the table. So you're kind of limited sometimes. So to be able to have that variable focal length was kind of huge. Plus the fact that this is great in low light. By having that F2.0, that was a deal breaker for me, because with weddings, I want to capture the ambiance. I want to photograph as long as I possibly can without adding in that flash. So this was a great compromise, and I think I'm really glad I made the purchase, and I'll tell you why in a minute. When I first purchased it, I used this all the time. I put the 85mm, the 35mm down a little bit more often than I really thought I would, because I absolutely love shooting with one camera sometimes. So often I will shoot with dual cameras, and that's what I've done for years. And I do love the combination of having that 35mm and the 85mm on one side. But when I'm moving around as much as I do when I'm shooting, I also really don't like shaking around and sort of restricting my movements. So I did try for a little while shooting with just this 28-70, and it was flawless. It was so amazing. But then I started having issues with it. It's something we're still working on with Canon, trying to figure out if it's something wrong with the lens, if there's perhaps some settings. There was some auto light flickering setting that I just recently changed in my camera body. But I'm going to show you some of the images here, and you can see that there's some serious stripes. Like, there was such inconsistency with the light, and that's not something I've ever noticed and experienced with camera gear before. And I've shot with $200 lenses and $5,000 lenses, and I was very concerned because this happened at a few of my weddings, and I was very restricted on what I could do. So I was pretty panicked, to be honest. So I'm still working through that issue, and I'm still very sensitive about not committing to this lens necessarily. I don't feel like I can trust it right now. While I say that, before I started having any troubles, it was so beautiful. The first wedding that I photographed on was out in Canmore, out in Alberta, out on the Glacier Lakes, and it was flawless. There was no problems. It was breathtaking. I absolutely loved it. The one big downside is because of that extra weight, there was some serious front heavy discrepancies on it. So when I had just the camera body itself, it's 1.5 pounds. When you add in the lens, which is 3.15 pounds, I knew I was close. When you add those in, it's still 4.7 pounds, and most of it's front heavy. So while you support it with your sort of bracing hand, it's still all day, it's awkward, which I really didn't like. So at the same time that I purchased this lens, I actually purchased the battery grip as well, because like a framer will have a well-weighted hammer so that it's well balanced, right? And this is now, yes, it's considerably heavier. It rings in at 5.10 pounds. So that's considerable weight, especially if you throw a flash on the top of there for a reception. It hurts your wrist after a little while, but it was worth it. It really was. The extra battery grip just balances out a little bit more, makes it a bit more comfortable. It's certainly not the lightweight that the mirrorless is sort of known for, because yes, while the body is lightweight, the rest of the gear is heavy as hell. I've mentioned in previous videos that I love dual shooting. I shoot with the rose anvil, the leather harness, and I love that. It's a great setup for having my Canon, the R6 on one side with my 35mm. On my other side, I'll have my 85mm, the 1.2. And I love dual shooting with that. That's always been my go-to for engagement sessions, for weddings especially, even still. And while I love that, as soon as I added in my 28-70, It's sort of dominated over my prime lenses a little bit more. I'll kind of reach for it a little bit more often than I anticipated. So I can take just one camera with me to an engagement session, and I know I have a wide variety of focal ranges, even if I am limited on where I can go, because sometimes we're on the rocks, sometimes we're in a forest, and there's only so much distance I can get between me and my subject. Having the 28mm focal range is really nice, getting that wide, because I love having that variety for my clients of the big range of having a nice wide open shots to something super close up, and that it gives that without distorting the image, which I really like. This has also been amazing for my indoor portraits, branding, stuff like that, because I only have one trigger that works with my Profoto light, and I like the control with it because it's steady. After, like, it's not going to change with that focal length. If I set it to 2.0, it's staying at 2.0. It doesn't matter what that focal range is. That is huge and powerful in the sense of when you're using extra lights, you don't have to change your settings every single time you rotate that lens. So I do still primarily use my 50mm, especially if I'm doing headshots, portraits, because it's absolutely flawless. I love the compression that comes with it. That being said, there's almost more control sometimes with having this variety in that focal length and having that just literally on hand. I don't have to switch out any lenses. So while my 50mm is my go-to, this is a very close contender when I know that I can rely on it. So I'm not 100% there yet. I'm still working through that, like I said, with Canon. So I'm really hoping that I can fix that very soon. And I've just changed some settings on it to this auto flicker, because I was having a lot of issues with low lighting situations. So if anyone's photographed using this 28-70 and they've had this similar issues with the flickering, with the sort of this inconsistent light exposure in a frame, I would love to chat with you, whether you throw a comment below or shoot over into my inbox, because I'm stumped. I'm not sure what's going on. So while I want to absolutely love this lens, I'm very hesitant right now, so I will do another video once I've got that all figured out and know without a doubt that this is, because I think this can really overpower a lot of my prime lenses. While they are in my kit, I will always use those, but it's coming up strong. Check back next week. I'm going to talk about my 35mm, the 1.8. It is on my camera right now, so I'm going to switch out my gear and I will tell you a little bit more about that.